Yeah, so this is a fair use from the Act of 1976. Disclaimer, Section 107, under critical and teaching and scholarship and educational purposes, research. I am not making any money off this. This is fair use, fair use.
All right, I feel like this video is way overdue, but I want to tell y'all about how I came out of Hebrew Israelitism. And for those who don't know my story, I was a Hebrew Israelite for about like 4.5 years. First, let's get into what is a Hebrew Israelite, okay? So the Hebrew Israelite belief is the belief that black people who are in America today, the descendants of slaves, that we are the real children of Israel. And this belief is actually based off of Deuteronomy 28, the 68th verse, where it says the Lord's going to bring Israel again to Egypt on ships. And they take that and say, like our ancestors were brought on ships. Like it was a prophecy that our ancestors were going to go into slavery because we disobeyed Yahweh and we disobeyed like the laws of the Torah and things. So I came across this information in 2018, I believe. And it was around a time where I was searching for identity and just like who I was as a black man. And at the time, like it just made sense. You know, just like the doctrine made sense. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you can look at that doctrine and see like how it can make sense to them. I started wearing fringes. I started not eating pork anymore. I started not eating shellfish anymore. I started, gathering and assembling on the Sabbath day instead of going to church on Sunday. Just all kind of things. I got caught up in the whole name thing where I started calling Jesus Yeshua and I started calling God Yahweh, because I thought that like it was wrong to say or use the letter J, because I was a part of that whole crowd that believed that the letter J, considering the fact that it wasn't invented until the 1500s, that it was wrong to use. I started having I developed like a somewhat of like a hate towards white people because I was infuriated and enraged by all the things that my ancestors had went through due to slavery and just due to colonialism, period. At the time I had a white best friend and we had actually stopped being friends. Not specifically because of that, but it was because of a lot of other stuff. Like that was like the main driver of why we weren't friends anymore. I was also a part of the crowd that thought, holidays were pagan. Like I didn't celebrate Christmas anymore. I didn't celebrate Easter anymore. Halloween was already off the table. It was just, just a whole list of what we see today and like deception and like misinformation and things. I was a part of that. Now looking back at it, I realized that when I was in Hebrew Israelitism, it was more so about exalting myself. It was more so about making myself feel relevant and feel good as a black man because, remember, like I said, I got into it around the time where I was searching for identity. The problem with it is, though, is that when you exalt yourself or you have a religion that exalts yourself or just even a belief that exalts yourself above exalting Christ, that's when it becomes idolatry. And that's what a lot of these black, like religious or different belief systems come from. Like it comes and it's rooted in idolatry, whether it be Hebrew Islamism, whether it be black Muslims, 5%ers, Nation of Islam, the Hotep people, the Kemetic spirituality people. It don't matter who you are, the people who are in sororities and things, it doesn't matter who you are. Like it's always about like exalting the black man, And trust me, I'm not saying to not be proud to be black. If you know me, I'm very, very proud to be black. I'm very, very proud to be a black man, have dark skin, all of that. I'm very, very proud of that. But it gets to a point to where, like, it becomes pride and it becomes ego and Christ isn't exalted. And that was one of the main reasons why I left Hebrew Israelitism, is because once I got, like, a true revelation of who Christ was, like, I realized I was in full-blown idolatry. I realized that I was making this thing about me. And I was making this thing about the black race. Guys, please hear my heart. This is not an anti-Hebrew Israelite message or Hebrew Israelite diss at all or nothing. Is it possible that Christ had darker skin or that the Jews of old had darker skin? Yes, there's a possibility. There's even a verse in Solomon where it talks about where Solomon actually says, he says, I am black, but I'm beautiful. I'm black, but I'm comely. What we have to realize, though, is that this thing is not about skin color. This thing is about souls, y'all. This thing is about souls. If you're a Hebrew Israelite, I'm telling you, man, this thing is about souls. And I would urge you to repent if you think that just because you're black or you have dark skin that you think you're better than somebody else, because you're not. Because when it's all said and done, and when the elect few make it into the kingdom, there's going to be people from every tribe, every tongue, every nation, not just black people, not just people of African descent, not just people from West Africa, not just us, everybody, the Chinese, the white, people who I used to hate so much, the white, the Hispanic, everybody who called upon the name of the Lord will be saved.
Yeah, so you, as a young Jake, decided to spend 4 years as a Hebrew, so-called black Hebrew Israelite, right? As you say, right? Which, according to scripture, you're supposed to be fully persuaded in your own mind, right? So you was persuaded, right? To spend 4 years, something to persuade you to go, hey, this is the truth, right? And for whatever reason, which really the real reason is you're not of the elect, right? At the end of the day, right? You know, a lot of people like to play with their lives, man, as if this is a game and a joke, but this is not a game and it's not a joke, right? But you're saying that it has nothing to do with the transatlantic slave trade, and all these other different things have nothing to do with anything, and it ain't because you're so-called black that you could be proud of this, and oh no, well, you could be proud, but the Bible has nothing to do with you, right? Well, it says the transatlantic slave trade involved the purchase and transportation and sale of enslaved men and women and children from Africa, right? These Africans, which were not Africans, were Israelites, right? Were purchased by what? Europeans, right? Which even those people are not the original Europeans, right? You know? It says, and transported, right? Because they're Edomites, right? They conquered, which Europe was named after a black woman named Europa, right? So they can't be Europeans because the Europe was named after a black woman named Europa, right? It says, and transported to the Americas where they were sold for profit. Now, I'm going to show you what I typed in. That's all I typed in. What people was transported as slaves and then sold. Because remember, everybody would be enslaved. Everybody was enslaved. Anybody could have got put on slave ships, but somehow when you go to your Google search, pull up somebody else that's been enslaved and then sold on slave ships. Was on slave ships and then sold to once they got to where they're at. A lot of people say, well, many people were slaves. Well, many people. Well, hey, you know. So with all that, you know, I want to say, call Loyum Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachaha Kodash. Like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, the elect, Shalom, to the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom to your sisters, your achwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. This is your brother Ram Yehuda with the lesson. Yeah, so this is Romans chapter 14, verse 4. Who art thou that judgest another man's servant, man? So basically, who are you to sit back and so-called judge the Hebrew Israelites, man? Right? You know, because, you know, the scripture does say, he that is spiritual judge of all things. But obviously, if you're a fallout and you don't see what's going on, here it is, the MOTB is on its way. Here it is, they're about to lock the globe down again, and you got nerves to throw up a video saying how you're no longer a Hebrew Israelite, right? Which that's not going to change the fact that the devil is going to come down with great wrath, knowing that he has but a short time. That's not going to make him he's going to be your friend, right? It's not going to make him overpass you, right? He's not the Most High. He's not going to pass you over, right? Because he don't see things like that, right? When you know, I don't know if you know about King Herod? He was looking to destroy a little baby, and when he couldn't find that baby, he had infants from baby to infants killed in the city of David. This is the guy you think is gonna pass you over, right? Somehow you're gonna be exempt because well, I'm not one of these black Hebrew Israelites. You know what I mean? Hey, listen, you're gonna get what you deserve, man. But who are you to judge another man's servant, right? Which ultimately we're the servants of Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai, but we're under our elders, man. And we seen the fruits of their labors, man. So we you know, it says to to his own master, he standeth or falleth. So we're gonna either stand, either this is the truth, which they already said. If this thing be not of the truth, which that was a regular guy, right? He said, this thing be not of the truth, they're gonna fall. But if this thing be of the truth, then you're gonna be happily to fight against no, I think it was one of or was it a Pharisee? I might have to look it up. But basically, yeah, but it said if this thing be of the truth, hey, this thing is gonna fall apart. But if it be of the Lord, it's gonna stand. And once it stand, you're gonna find yourself fighting against the Most High, which that's what you're doing, bro. You're ultimately fighting against Yahweh Bashem Shai, right? To no avail, right? Because the one you think you got all this admiration and love for, hey, he kills infants, bro. Which you know that through the Epstein files, bro. So this is those same individuals, man, that you think you could go buddy with, which they hate that, right? You know what I mean? A traitor, especially a traitor of his own people, they hate that, man, right? They even tell you that they hate nothing more. What they hate more than the N word, right? With the ER is a Benedict Arnold, right? So you're double screwed, right? Because you are the so-called N word to them, and you're Benedict Arnold. So they're gonna rub you out real bad, bro. You're stupid, right? It says, yea, he shall be holden up, for the power of the Most High is able to make him stand, right? A true man of the Lord is going to be able to stand. We're not going to get thrown, tossed to and fro with every wind of doctrine just because so I can be a pleaser of man. That's you, bro. You're a pleaser. That's ultimately what that means. You're a pleaser of man, right? It says one man esteemeth one day above another, right? And we esteem the day that Yahweh Shai is fastly approaching above all these other days, man. Right? We need them to bring in the MOTB, man. Which that day it's gonna be a great day. We're gonna call along. We're gonna be celebrating. We'll maybe even open up some yayan. I don't know. Maybe. You know what I'm saying? And throw it to Yahweh Bashem Shai once the whole world is getting implemented with the micro C hip. See, with the world's greatest I told you so. But that's not it. The thing is gonna be when they're out there, World War III, the third woe. And Yahweh Shai actually cracks the sky. Not no Jesus, right? Yahweh Shai cracks the sky. And man, it's going to be a beautiful sight to see our Lord and to see the dumb look on your face. When that maybe, possibly, but nah, it wasn't you. You weren't going to be the elect because look what you did, right? You abandoned the Lord, right? You know? But you know, because you're probably like one of these dudes where it says one man esteemed every day, one day above another, and another esteemed every day alike. See, to you, every day is the same. It's another day. It's not a big deal. I'm just gonna, yeah. Every day is like a mundane day to you, man. But you know, says, but let, regardless how you look at life, half empty, half full, right? As they said, the glass half empty, half full. No matter how you look at it, let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind, la'ab, your mind, your heart, right? You got to be fully persuaded in your own, and what you were. You seen Deuteronomy 28. Said you said you were a Hebrew Israelite for four years. So that means you were persuaded to go, hey, this makes sense. But then what all of a sudden made you fall out that didn't make sense? This is Mark chapter 12, verse 30. It says that thou shalt love the outer one, thy power, the Most High, which is Yahweh Bashem Shai, right? Because Yahweh being the Father, Yahweh Shai being the Son, which are two separate beings and not the same. Yahweh Shai came and gave up his life on the cross and ascended on the right hand of the Father. And before he did that, he said it several times that his Father is greater than him. They're not the same person, right? Matter of fact, he said that he doesn't even know the time of the hour that he's coming back. Only the Father. So they're not the same, right? It said the Father rose him from the dead. So what did he do? Right? Raise himself from the dead as You know, just madness that you people come up with, right? So it's not the same person, but they're in agreement. And then, but you're supposed to love the outer one, thy power, which is the Most High, Yahweh, whose only begotten Son, which is Yahweh Shai, with all thy heart, La'ab, which is your mind, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind, see, with all thy strength. And this is the first commandment, see? So if you're fully persuaded in your own mind, right, and you're supposed to give your mind and your strength over to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, there's no way you come up with, never mind, I changed my mind. I don't think I'm right? Because, basically to these people, you're Benedict Arnold, man. You're going to get it worse, man. And like I said, let's not forget that you are the N-word according to them, right? With the ER, with a hard ER to it. They don't like you anyway. Yeah, so this is historiclanguage.com, right? And it says English language and usage, right? So it says if the letter J is only 4 through 500 years old, was there a J sound that precede the design of the letter? And it'd be no, because there was no J sound, especially when you're dealing with the Hebrew, right? Especially the Paleo Hebrew, right? There's no J sounds, right? See, but they want to give you lies, spill lies to you, right? And they're gonna use crafty manipulation to do it. Watch this. It says I understand that the letter J is recently new, perhaps 400 or 500 years ago, but since there has long been important names that began with J, such as Jesus, right? And they put that because a lot of you people are emotionally attached to the word Jesus, right? And it says Joshua, which basically is supposed to mean Jesus, right? Which when you go from Joshua, which that's really the name, which would be closer to the name of the Lord, right? It wouldn't be Jesus, because it's that's how you get the word Yahweh Shai, right? From what they say Joshua is. So really, that's what the Lord's name should be. It should be Joshua and not Jesus, right? So being that the Lord's name would be actually, I mean, if they wanted to be honest, you would say his name was Joshua and not Jesus, right? You couldn't get it's impossible to get that from that, right? Right? Because that's what that means, Savior. He saves. Yah meaning he, Hawashai meaning saves, right? So you couldn't get that from Jesus. Jah meaning what is the like geography, right? Right? Jah meaning when you like because it basically be like earth, like geography, earth, Jah, G, and then sus meaning filthy or dirty, right? So you're not, you know what I mean? Or earth, right? So you wouldn't get that out of that. So it's all basically lies. So they're trying to pull your strings, and then Justina, and which predate the introduction, which it does not. The word Jesus does not predate it, because you go to the blue letter, or you go to the what do you call it? The 1611 Bible, which they say is 1611, but I believe it was actually printed even before that, but they had to reprint it to get it more correct. It was more closer to the 1600s, early 1600s, when it got printed, or late 1500s to early 1600s when it was printed. Then they had to get reprinted around 1611, right? That thing had eyes in it, not so. Iesus, right, or Iesus, is which would be in there. So how can you say that sound? It predates it. There's no, I mean, but they know people are emotionally attached to that, right? And see, and this is like way of words that you get your reference from, but you don't think, right? But it says predates the introduction of a special letter, right? And there's nothing special about that letter because it never existed before in any other alphabet. Does that mean that the letter J sound predates the letter, or where such famous names spelled and pronounced differently? Of course they were spelled and pronounced differently, right? Which even if you go Iesus, it's Greek, and that's not Hebrew. The Lord is surely our Lord sprang out of Judah, which Judah comes from one of the tribes from the nation of Israel, right? There's 12 tribes from the nation of Israel who are Hebrew Israelites, right? Yeah. So this is just Google and just put how old is the letter J, and then I put Hebrew, right? Since some of these things said, oh yeah, the letter J is in the Hebrew. Well, this thing tells me otherwise. It says there is no letter in Hebrew corresponding to J. There's no J in the Hebrew, right? Not even this modern Hebrew, right? I mean, they want to lie and say, yeah, well, later on we did it, and then now you got to do this, and yeah, there's a J, but that's all BS. There's no J in the Hebrew, even though this is there was that Yiddish or whatever they created something with some German and Yugoslavic and this and that, and they mixed it all together and put Hebrew letters, but it's really something else. Even in that, there's no J's, right? But it says the correspondence to J, there never has been. See, there's never has been ever, right? And the Lord is a Hebrew Israelite, right? From the tribe of Judah. If you were to invent one, the council in Jerusalem agrees to add it, and it would be counted from the day they would add it. This has not happened. It's never happened. So there would be a history of some type of sort. This is basically what it's saying, that they allowed the letter J to be added to which there's no sound for that, right? Ah, ba, ga, da, ga, right? I need to work on my Hebrew alphabet. I used to could do the whole thing, but that's just giving you that's how it goes. There's no letter J at all. So when you're dealing with the Lord, he does not he's the father of truth, right? Yeah, so this is Proverbs chapter 6 verse 16. There are 6 things doeth Yahweh, right? All caps. Yahweh hate. So the Lord hates things, right? And he hates people. There's things he hates, and there's a nation of people that he hates. And there's people that he hates, right? 2/3 of his own people, he hates them, right? Whether you accept it, believe it or not. The Lord hates people. There's certain things that the Lord does not agree with, man. He hates it. It says, yea, 7 are an abomination unto him, right? An abomination is like just completely just outside of everything. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, can't even tolerate it, right? He will not tolerate it. See, a proud look, a lying tongue. So if you know that the letter J was created in the 1500s, you're gonna keep saying a lie. So you left the truth, or what you thought was the truth, because I don't know what camp you were in, but you left a form of the truth, or whatever you want to call it, right? Because really, to really have the truth is to have the 100% truth. And there's only one camp that has that 100% truth, which is GMS. Now, people don't like it, but hey, nobody likes when they're wrong, but the truth is the truth. You know, you got to follow behind the truth, right? You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. You know, but the Lord said, "My sheep hear my voice." The Lord, was it a proud look, and that's really what you have it. To get on the thing, which I believe you got paid, and you didn't get paid no big money. You just got paid a little money, or some type of thing, and you thought it was cool. You know what I mean? A proud look, 'cause that's a proud look, and a lying tongue. So you're saying that the letter J, oh, that's okay. It's okay to use it. So you're scattering the flock, so to speak. You know the Lord hates that, right? Man, you're in trouble. More trouble than a little bit, bro. You know? And hands, what? That shed innocent blood. And ultimately you're doing that. You scattering the flock. That's likened unto shedding innocent blood. Right? You know? And I'm gonna prove that to you, right? It says, in a heart, la'ab, your mind, that devises wicked imagination. And that's a wicked imagination. Yeah, I'm gonna get this money from these devils, from Esau. And then they told me just to say that the letter J, it ain't no big deal. You could just keep saying, earth pig, or earth dirt, or dirt filth, right? Yeah. G, you're like, yeah. Sus, yeah, G, sus, earth, dirt. Yeah, it's basically what it means. Filthy dirt, or earth, dirt, filth, right? Sus meaning filth, right? And it says, in heart, la'ab, your mind, that devise wicked imagination, and feet, right? That's what you were doing. Oh, let me walk out here and do this commercial. Your feet, while you're walking, that be swift in running to do mischief. And that's a fast way to be into some mischief. Like you're trying to scatter the Lord's flock and say some madness like, oh, it doesn't matter. I used to be you know what I mean? But you were supposed to be fully persuaded in your own mind. You've seen the Deuteronomy 28:68. Like I just typed in the beginning. I didn't put any names. I just said what people were put on slave ships and transported to another place and sold. And it come up with your people, what you would say is so-called black people, right? Come up with your people. So ask yourself, why is that? And then come up with anybody else, because people will tell you, well, many other people have been enslaved. But when you put up slave ships, sell to somewhere else, sold to someone, and you're gonna come up with nobody else but us, right? Starting with the Negro, of course, because they always talk about that. But you so-called Mexicans, you Latinos, you Native Americans, you were put on slave ships too, right? You know, but the best part about that is that's the receipt that we're the people of the Most High. See, because how can you prove? Well, the receipt and the proof is in the pudding that you put us in slavery. See, now they want to spin it and go, well, and try to put out what do they call it? Put out misinformation, should I say, and say that there was no slave ships. They want to put out more information proving that Jake is a Native American, but at the same time, still not giving you the rights as a Native American, right? So now it's just another philosophy. Now you just look like you're somebody else that's popping up with another. But hey, we know that Jakes were the Native, there's some Jakes that's Native American. But we did go on them ships, man, right? As prophecy said we would do. Right, for disobeying a false witness, right, and that's ultimately what it came down to, right? For you to do that 4 years, for 4 years, you were basically a false witness, man. You wasn't true to the brotherhood, and you became a false witness, man. And now you're even more of a false witness because You're doing the opposite. You're going back to the vomit, right? And he that soweth discourse among brothers, see, and that's what you're ultimately doing. See, that's like an abomination to the Lord. You're sowing discourse between brothers, man. Right? There's brothers that was coming back into the faith. They see your thing, and maybe they go, "Oh shoot, man, maybe I don't want to do that now," which means they wasn't the elect anyway. But still, you're sowing discourse, man. And see, the Most High is going to destroy you for that, because the Lord, one of the things the Lord said He hates is what? A lying tongue. So if you're saying the letter J, which we know that it's wrong, right? It never was in the Hebrew. It never was in any alphabet. It wasn't even in the English alphabet. It was created in the 1500s. You said it out your own mouth, right? So why would you spin off with a lie, knowing that the Lord hates lies? This is 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 20. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world, right? See, that's ultimately what you're saying. You say you were a Hebrew Israelite. You came in, you were doing it for about 4 years or so. So basically, you escape the pollution of this world. When this world tells you lies, they tell you that the letter J is fine, and you can call them Jesus, you can call them Jehovah, you can call all these names that has really truly no meaning because of the fact of a lie, and you want to hold on unto the lie. Basically, that's what you're saying. The lie is it's okay to hold on to it. It's not a big deal. I wasn't fully persuaded in my own mind, which when I first came in, it did make sense. You know? Though I could say, well, many people have been, yeah, well, how many people have been like this? Done it in this fashion? Google it. They'll tell you that, well, other people, well, give me the evidence. They can't do it because they don't have it. It's never happened. Even the people who say that they're living in the land, they say they celebrate the Passover. They say they go to synagogue. When have they been on slave ships and then sold? Weren't they the ones who owned the slave ships and the insurance companies? Who, if you lost or injured or maimed or your slave died, that their insurance companies would pay you for the loss of your goods, right? Because that's all you were. See, and you're stupid, man. I make you mad, but you went from being known as a commodity, a good, to where here it is. They're about to shut off all the goods, and you're in a bro. You're in a time that they about to push this micro C and shut off all goods to you, right? They already said you're 3/5 of a man. A dog has more rights than you, bro. But because you got a mouth and you could walk and you could turn on your fucking internet, you thought you would talk reckless, man. That is insane. See, but you're saying for if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the outer one, right? And Savior, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, they are again entangled. Woo, that's big, bro. Entangled therein and overcome. Whoo, therein and overcome. The latter end is worse than with them than the beginning. Wow. You know? Yeah, I want to check that out. That entangled. Right? Entangled.
Strong's G 1707. Impleco.
In waves. Wow. Yeah. Continuing on, 2 Peter 2 and 21. 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 21. For it had been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness. So you said you spent 4 years into this, and because you think plantation Christianity, that wasn't the way of righteousness. You finding out that you're a Hebrew Israelite and everything made sense. When you go to Deuteronomy 20, just Deuteronomy 28. Obviously, we fit the curses, right? Whether Northern Kingdom or Southern Kingdom, we fit those curses, right? Right? Even when it talks about the locusts basically taking over the land, which represents Esau, that happened, right? You have them taking over parts of your land, this and that, so on and so forth, right? Because you have Jake that used to rule over what they call Europe, which is Western Asia, which Europe was named after a woman named Europa, right? Which is Western Asia, right? But we ruled over that. So they took over that land, took over like I said, we take over your cattle, your water, and basically you're gonna pay for it. You know what I mean? What was it the other one? So I think it's in Isaiah. Talks about your wood. You have to pay for your own. You have to pay for your own wood, right? Which let you understand that's the curses. It's your land, but you're paying for your own wood. You're paying for your own water, right? That's happening in Europe. That's happening here in America, right? You know, and really parts of even West Africa, right? Because a lot of them so-called witchcombs ain't really in control. A lot of those are puppet leaders. Yeah, it's a Jake. His face is there, but he's really controlled by Esau, by Amalek, right? That's why the what was it, the thing with the Nigeria? So all them other countries moved over to the BRICS, but somehow Nigeria didn't go to the BRICS, which they should have, right? Because then that'll push the French and the American out of there. Whoever else is helping them, Britain, whatever, whoever's helping them, push them out of there, and then Russia would have to come, and China would have to come and push them out of there, and give them a better deal, so they could build up infrastructure. But they're controlled by Amalek. That's why they didn't go get that. Meanwhile, Esau's in their backyard, still in their gold. See, so it's happening to us, right? So, I mean, it's undeniable. See, but you found the way of righteousness. You spent 4 years in the way of righteousness, and it would have been better for you not to find it or to know it. Then after they have known it, see, you known it, to turn from the holy commandment, right? Which says it's to seek ye the old path. That's a commandment, man. Seek ye the old way, walk ye there in it, right? To the right hand, to the left hand, right? You got to be on that narrow path, bro. It says delivered unto them. Yeah, it was delivered to you. It was a brother, whether you were watching videos, the digital epistles, or you walk by a camp, or one of your friends, your cousins, somebody spoke to you and told you, hey, yeah, look this up. However you came into contact with being delivered the holy commandment delivered to you, right? However it got delivered to you. It says, but it is happened unto them according to the true proverb, right? The dog is turned to his own vomit again. See, and that's all that is. Plantation Christianity was vomit from the first place, right? Even what was it? I think King David said, "Let their table be a snare, right? Their truth, right? The table being their truth. Table, a snare, and what? And full of vomit, right? That's what plantation Christianity is. It's a table. It's your truth, right? And it's full of snares and vomits. You you're gonna be ever learning and never coming to the truth for real, because plantation Christianity does not tell you to study. It does not tell you to look up words. Saying, and that's a great clue though. Like the whole J thing. That was a great clue in how to start studying and looking that up, and then looking other things up and looking up other words and being around other brothers that learn. I don't know everything, but I'll be around brothers that brother, okay, let me go look that up. Okay. Okay. Now I'm fully convinced in my mind what they were saying, right? Or if I can see something where it expounds more in what they were saying, I'll be like, hey, brother, that actually goes further than that. And then they'd be like, oh, I didn't see that part. So now I just help that brother go a little bit further. See, that's what this is all about, Iron sharpening iron, but you can't sharpen iron that ain't being sharpened. You're not sharp, bro. You just turn. The dog is turned to his own vomit again, right? It was already vomit. You knew it was vomit. That's why when you heard the holy commandment delivered unto you, you was like, this makes sense. This is it. But then you're still looking for identity. Well, in this society, they say you're 3/5 of a human being. Your nationality is black or African American. So did you that was something you knew before you got into this thing. So did you find your identity? Did you really? You left being a Hebrew Israelite, which is actually an identity, to go back to the vomit, to go back to being African American and black? Is that your identity? That's the identity you longed for so long? You finally found it? Okay, well, that doesn't make sense. And the soul that was, and yet again turned to his vomit again, and the soul that which was washed to her. No, sow. Okay, the sow, right, which swine's a pig, and the sow that was washed, right, which is a pig, a sow that was washed, to her wallowing in the mire, right? So the pig, you wash a pig, you put lipstick on a pig, right, so to speak, like they always tell you. You put lipstick on a pig, right? Guess what? It's still a pig. You know what I mean? You can put lipstick and perfume and all this other thing. The thing is going to go right back to the mud. It's going to be right back being a pig. And that's basically what it's likening you into, like a dog or a pig, bro. Filthy. Yeah, so this is Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7. For as he thinketh in his heart is la'ab in the Hebrew, which means mind. See, this is what you get. Like, I'm not real deep in the Hebrew, but there's certain things that you do learn, and it does give you an understanding as far as the understanding of the Bible. So if heart is really talking about your mind, if you go into that word, it's la'ab in the Hebrew, and some brothers, as they teach you, they told you, and you look it up and they show you what it is, you go, okay, that means mind. And then when you're looking at this, and then it actually makes sense too. As a man thinketh in his heart, so then your beating heart does not think. It just beats blood. So when they tell you, oh, that's la'ab, it's mind, you know what? That actually makes sense, brother. Because your beating heart only beats blood. It doesn't think. And then a brother might even tell you, how you would say to someone, I remember your number by heart, or I remember by heart. Yeah. Well, then you're not talking about the heart. You're talking about the mind. Common sense. This is things hey, just a little bit of learning, right? It's not super deep. The Lord said, put it plain upon tables. Make it simple. Even it talks about the simplicity of Yahushai, right? That's all this is. Simplicity of Yahushai, but not the simplicity of just being just stupid. Without this truth, you don't have a nationality. So what are you? So you say you're still seeking, and now you're good. You went back to your vomit. You could have just stayed in that, right? Because the Lord said, You should be beaten. Those who don't know will still be beaten with few stripes. And those that know will be beaten with many stripes. So now you're a person who went from not knowing, which we're going to get few stripes, to a person who knows. So now you're going to get many stripes, only to go back to what you already knew. That is insane. Wow. That's not a fair exchange. Because you're coming up with what you had already to be beaten with more stripes. I'm like, Lord, just give me the few stripes and hey, we good then, whatever. You know, you know this thing and get beat with many, bro. That is crazy. It says, so is he. Eat and drink, right? Saith to thee, but his heart, right? Yeah, because that's what this is. You know that this word is likened to milk and water, and wine, and meat and bread, right? So you ate and drunk for 4 years with this truth, right? But his heart, which is your mind, la'ab, your mind is not with thee. Your mind wasn't with us. Your mind was on plantation Christianity, and how can you save Esau, right? For as he thinks in his heart, which is your mind, so is he in behavior. Whoa, cut it out. Right. So your behavior went back to the behavior that you already had. You already was black or African American, and you already was 3/5 of a man, according to Esau. You already live wherever you lived at. If you're one of those Jakes that just so happened you got lucky, you kind of grew up in the suburbs a little bit, but you're still a Jake. Even when you live in the suburbs, when you go to certain places, white people look at you crazy. You know what I mean? I know that. I lived because I'm from Phoenix. I lived in Phoenix in the hood, on the east side, the west side, went to school on the south side. So I've been in the hood, right? But we moved over to Tempe, which is like a suburb in Phoenix. And when I go into certain places, you could feel the energy. I remember when I was in high school, we went into some me and my homeboys, we went into what was it called? Like a thing where they sell little animals and they have the aquarium and all that other stuff. But they were selling, went into one of those little fish tank shops. Had the aquarium and the animals and different things. We were just checking, hey man, let's go look at the animals. We walked in, you could just feel you could feel it. Even when we walked out, nobody said nothing when we were in there. But on the way out, we was like, man, didn't you feel the energy of the way those people were looking? I was like, yeah, I felt it too. So we all collectively felt the energy of how these white folk were looking at us in the suburbs. So you might be some Jakes that get lucky to live in the suburbs, but you're still in America, bro. You're still man. Come on, man. In behavior, see, your behavior went back to the same bullshit that you already had. It says one who men manipulates, right? And that's what you were doing. You're just manipulating the situation. Yeah, so this is Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7, KJV. For as he thinketh in his heart, right? Heart in the Hebrew, la'ab, which means mind, right? And that's just a little tidbit that you get from brothers, if brothers are teaching you. So you might have been in a camp that wasn't trying to really actually help you grow or whatever. But the Lord said, make it plain upon tables. It actually even speaks about the simplicity of Yahweh Shai. See, some brothers, they'll give you that. See, and then when a brother give you that heart meaning la'ab in the Hebrew, which goes back to the word mind as well, because you could say la'ab meaning heart, but in Hebrew, Words have dual meanings, sometimes 3 or 4 different meanings. You don't just use it because the alphabet is not super huge. It's all in the characterization, and in how you place it is how it brings that meaning, right? You know, and so you start learning those little things, little things to learn, right? To open up your mind to the right thing, not the wrong thing. So is he. So what you think in your mind, hey, so is you. You know what I mean? It says, eat and drink, saith he to thee. Right? Yeah. So yeah, you coming amongst the brethren, you eating and drinking. Basically, this word, the scriptures, is known as meat, as bread. Right? It's also known as water, as milk, as wine. Right? So you're eating and drinking amongst the brethren. Getting this holy commandment delivered to you, but it says, but his heart, la'ab, your mind, is not with thee. Hey, it's not. Your mind ain't even with us. So maybe that's what it was. You wasn't really learning. People were breaking down things to you, and you was, yeah, that makes sense. I want to get back to being African American. You know what I'm saying? To carry the whole thing that you've already been carrying, right? Because the Lord said that you will be beaten with few. If you don't even know this truth, you're still going to get it. It's going to be fewer stripes. But those who know it will be beaten with many stripes. So you're going to be beaten now that you know this thing for 4 years. Now that you know this thing, you're going to be beaten with many stripes, only to have the same understanding that you had before you got into it. That you are black and African American and 3/5 of a human being. Right? Living in the ghettos, the vadios, and the reservations for you so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indians. Right? Or if you got lucky, you one of these jakes that, like I said, you get lucky and you lived in the suburbs. But even I grew up in Phoenix. I grew up on the west side of Phoenix, on the east side. I went to school on the south side. I've been in the hoods. You know what I mean? But we moved to like Tempe, like a suburb of Phoenix. And when I was in high school, me and my homeboy went into a pet shop, and they had these different things, the tanks and stuff. They had where they sell tanks and fishes and little animals, and you could buy the little lizards and stuff. You could buy little animals and stuff there. But we all went in there just to check it out. And we walked through there, went through there. And then when me and my homeboys came out of there, we all was like, hey, did you feel the energy? And I was like, yeah, I felt it too. Like, we were all in sync with saying we felt the energy of how white people looked at us when we went into the store. So you're still in America, bro. Even if you somehow make it and you end up living in the suburbs and you lived somewhat of a decent life, you're still in America. For as he think in his heart, which is your mind, so is he in behavior. See? So your behavior is of a black or African American, right? A black American or African American, which you knew that before you got into the truth, right? So you didn't gain a thing, bro. You didn't gain a thing. One who manipulates, and see, that's what you did. All you did was try to manipulate, and really was a waste of your time, right? It says he says to you, eating and drinking, right? Like I said, the word is reference to what? Meat, bread, right? Wine, water, milk. So eating and drinking with us, exchanging the scriptures, trying to, also the scripture says iron sharpening iron. There's some brother breaking these things down, trying to sharpen you, and then you're not even getting it. But then you're sitting, eating and drinking. He says to you, eating and drinking, yet his heart, your mind, is not with you, right? See, and all that stuff, and your heart and your mind wasn't with the men that you were with. I don't know if you were ISUPK or was it HOI or IUIC, which you look like an IUIC guy, right? Which they don't go into the Hebrew, they don't go into words. So which why you're malnourished. You wasn't really, you were eating and drinking, but you wasn't getting the. So maybe that's why you fell out too. But regardless, you at least you understood that you were the Hebrew Israelite, which is a nationality, which is a people, which obviously more than just us have said it. There's been so-called white rabbis who said that we have to be the Israelites. There's all sorts of people and all sorts of facts that prove that we have to be the Israelites as well. Right? So you going back to your vomit, it's pretty much no excuse. Besides, you're just dumb. You're not bright at all. Right? And it says, yet in his heart is not with you, but it is begrudging, right? Begrudging the cost, right? Oh yeah, see, yeah, because you don't, yeah, it's there's which you're gonna have to go through it anyway, because you figure Esau's gonna come down with great wrath, knowing that he had but a short time. You figure there's people who say, oh, you're one of those black, and so people looking at you different. Well, guess what? Those people are gonna look at you like that anyway. Remember, you're forgetting you're in America. You're only 3/5 of a human being according to them. So they're gonna look at you that way anyway. So guess what? Just because you come and say, I'm no longer a Hebrew, do you think that's gonna stop Uncle Sam and his henchmen and these what they call these sleeper cells? Because these sleeper cells come from somewhere else. Right? They come from different countries and different places. They ain't sitting around watching videos. These sleeper cells. Oh, I seen his video. See, he did a video saying he ain't. So we gonna leave him alone. No, they just gonna see that you're a so-called black man, right? Because that's what you said you are, and they're gonna kill you, bro. That's just that. So you did all that not to be able to call on the name of the Lord. Because you just cast it behind you and beside you like it's nothing. You know what I mean? The morsel, because that's like a meal, a morsel, which thus has eaten, right? Your meal that you have eaten shall thus vomit up. See, and that's what you did. You ate and drank this truth, and see, that's what you ultimately did. You vomited up the truth. Now I'm no longer a Hebrew Israelite. Those are those black, but no, bro, you're the one who's black. You're a black African American, bro. That's what you are. Don't put that off on us. You're the one who's black. Because you're void of understanding and light. And you're too stupid to know. You just vomit up your own meal, right? Which is ultimately meant to save your soul. The morsel which thus has eaten shall thou vomit up and lose thy sweet word. Ooh, see, these are sweet words, man. When you can say, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated, that is a sweet word to say, bro. Right? When you can say, I put away with the old man, the deeds of the old man, and I put on the new, and to be, roughly paraphrasing, to be the image of him that created me, right? He that is in me is greater than he that is in the world, right? And see, and we're saying that in facts. You could say those things under that you already know that JC doesn't exist, right? Even the letter J is something that don't exist because you know that. You right? And if there was a JC, the way they have it, he's an Edomite and he's going into slavery. So he's not gonna be able to save you. Right? So the morsel which thus have eaten, you will vomit up and you will waste your Let's look this up. Compliment is a comment instead intended to express praise or admiration of someone. See, now you were going to get a praise from the Lord and lost it, bro. You were going to get a compliment. And now you lost it because you vomit this truth up. Let's see what it says right here.
Compliment.
An expression or esteem or respect. So, oh yeah, you lost your respect, bro.
Affection.
Affection. Oh my God. Yeah, of the Lord, man. The Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua was going to show you affection, and you lost the admiration. You did that to go back to plantation Christianity. Wow. Wow. You know? Yeah. So with all that, I want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha HaKodash. I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well and do well. To the elder apostles, bishops in Connecticut, the bishops, the preachers, the teachers, the evangelists, and the four winds, preaching in truth and sincerity, risking your lives more now than ever, the hopeful elect, Shalom. To the Israelite foreigners who phenotype may look like another nation, but bloodline goes back to Israel through your father and have come back to the fold. Shalom. To you sisters, you akhwatim, who listen and learn under your husband, which is your spiritual leader, with meekness and with silence. And above all, Kwam Yasharallah.